Pretty Little Liars, the TV show, sometimes deals with disturbing and problematic topics. We provide a list of content warnings in the episode description.
Welcome to Dead Ends. I'm Emily.
I'm Brenton.
And we have 2 new episodes of Pretty Little Liars to talk about for you.
We do.
We do.
Not quite as exciting as Halloween. We're getting a lot of setup here and a lot of setup in the background. It's kind of like we're dealing with like things happening, like character relationships while mystery details are just happening like right in the background of the scene. But we did learn a few lessons this week.
Yeah.
As a show that's all about lying, but there's some take-home relationship advice. Always tell your partner, kind of like keep them in the loop. What's going on? Keep them updated. Number 2, boys have a lot of feelings and they don't want to be left out.
That's really what we learned, huh?
Mm-hmm. That's the biggest one.
The boys feel left out.
Because we've moved from Toby, now Caleb. He's like, you're not telling me something. I need to know.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they'll get together and both be like, you need
No.
to all tell me?
I didn't.
You don't think
I
Toby
think
and
all
Caleb
the boys
will ever talk?
No, I think all the boys that are like in a relationship with the core cast, they're all silent. They're not friends with each other. They only see each other at the gatherings.
Well, but you don't think they're ever going to talk?
They'll probably just be like, "Hey, how's it going, Toby? How's the carpentry business?" But like they're not like friends. It's like like Caleb and Lucas at their like sleepover parties. It's just kind of like, "Hey, yeah, what do you think of Toby?" "Yeah, no, he's fine."
Nobody thinks Toby's fine.
Right, that's true. He gets a bad rap, but I'm not gonna hang out with him.
You don't think Ezra's hanging out with them?
Come down to Hollis, have some coffee. Or whatever his name is, the new guy. We'll get to him. I've already forgotten his name. He's in my notes.
Holden?
Thank you. Yeah, Holden Caulfield. English books. Are you ready to jump in?
Yeah, but wait, who's that?
Holden Caulfield?
Yeah.
That's from what's the Salinger book, J.D. Salinger book.
Oh, I never read that one.
Yeah, I didn't either, but I know the title of the character.
Because everyone around Aria has literary names.
You established this.
No, I know. That's what I was like. I wonder when that came from. I don't know.
Oh yeah. What is the book title now?
Catcher in the Rye?
Thank you. No.
That's not.
It was about to. I was like, "Yep, she got me." It's like, no. That's everything else we've gotten to from this point. Oh, this. Thank you for looking this up.
Salinger's best known for Catcher in the Rye.
It's Catcher in the Rye?
The Catcher in the Rye?
Okay, then what was I thinking of? Jesus Christ. To Kill a Mockingbird. All right. I'm sorry. I've derailed before we've even gotten to this.
Like, I got a degree in English literature, but let me tell you, my high school, they didn't make me read this one.
So confident. I apologize for the incorrect assertion.
I was like, I know J.D. Salinger wrote Catcher in the Rye. I never read it.
Yeah, I'm just going to read from my prepared notes from now on for the rest, including my responses to
Your
any
Honor.
questions. Who knows what he's going to say this episode?
I feel like your first sentence is a typo because it was open on my
Yes, it was.
computer, and I was like, "What the hell?"
No, when I
is
was pulling
that?
it up before here, I'm like, "There's no such thing as a green yard." But who
I
knows
forgot
what's
to tell you.
happening.
I saw it on my computer, and I was like, huh. And I like opened something else.
I'm picking through all this kind of stuff as we go, anyway. All right, episode 37, Hot Piece of A.
Or season 2, episode 15, if you're like me and you do it the Netflix way.
Okay. The friends investigate back in the greenhouse for the box and discuss A being hit. I'm gonna take a pause for you to swallow your water.
I was just like, oh yeah, huh.
Emily,
Greenhouse.
greenhouse, not greenyard. Emily's worried about everyone not being like, is about them not being there when she was being like attacked. And everyone gives excuses like, oh, I was tied up with this. Ooh, my parents couldn't get me out of this. No one copying to that maybe it was a bad plan to put like Emily in danger like that. But Hannah's news of Kate moving back to Rosewood stops everyone in their tracks. Hannah says, well, I win. And then Emily says, no, you don't. I almost got killed. Spencer suggests
Fair
Hannah.
enough.
Absolutely fair enough. Spencer suggests Hannah calls Caleb to check on the phone, but Hannah pushes back. Hannah doesn't want to loop in Caleb at all because of his connection in the past to Jenna, and she says the phone is like, we already know it's connected to Jenna and Garrett. We don't need to loop in the tech guy. The phone then rings, and they hot potato the phone around until Hannah just grabs it to answer it. To go to answer it, they see it's a blocked number, but then like glass suddenly falls from the ceiling. And so Emily says, oh my God, I have Caleb's number. I'm calling him, and they all run away. We're then back at Hannah's house, and Caleb has the phone connected to a laptop. He says there's a lot of data on this phone. They're 11 gigabytes. Times have changed. Well, even then, I guess it's
Our
like
phones had like 8 or 16 or whatever.
Yeah, 11 gigabytes on like a flip phone is what it practically is.
It's like the early iPhones.
It's not a touchscreen or anything.
It's not?
I thought it like had a keyboard and everything on it.
My Droid was a touchscreen but had a keyboard.
Okay. It looked like one of the slide phones or something.
Yeah,
it didn't
Droid
look
was
like a
that.
smartphone.
Oh.
But I digress.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, Hannah is away, kind of like separated from everybody else, is like kind of looking worried, and Caleb is like, "Hey, whose phone is this?" Spencer's like, "We can't tell you. The less you know, the better." An error then pops up, and Caleb says, "Damn, the phone was shut down by the owner. Like, I can try and retrieve like what I have now, but essentially this phone is bricked, and I can't get anything else." And he's like, "Hey, so are you okay for me to work on this?" And everybody else agrees, other than Hannah. So then he looks at Hannah, and he's like, are you okay with me doing this? And she eventually just nods yes. Aria goes to leave for school the next day, and Byron stops her, looks at her like clothes, and then says, "You can't go to school dressed like that." Aria says, "What's happening? I've never had a dress code." And Byron says, "We didn't know who you were dressing for." Ella then takes her back into her room and says, "You should really learn to pick your battles," as she like goes to pick her out another outfit. Arias says, really, he's going to be the one to come down on me for an inappropriate relationship? Ella then says, stop that. And Arias says, like, I thought you would understand. Ella says, that I would give you and Fitz approval. And Mr. Fitz, Arias says, I didn't want to tell you because, like, I thought you might react like this. And Ella says, obviously, you know us better than we know you. And you're not going to be seeing your friends anymore or seeing this Mr. Fitz. Is that clear? Aria is like, well, did you like him? And Ella says, I did. Toby is fastening wood planks in his truck as Spencer walks up and asks to talk. Toby nods, but Spencer's like, can we go someplace more private? So then they get into his truck. Spencer says, I know you want answers, and I'm close to giving them to you, but it's still not safe. Toby's like, well, why did you come here then? Spencer says, because I missed you, and shutting you out is killing me. Toby says, so you came here to tell me you can't be here. They then laugh, and Toby leans in to kiss, and they make out.
Welcome to Spoby.
Yeah. I thought that was going to take a turn, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, Toby's just happy she's back around, so I'm happy.
You just want what's best for him.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Our golden boy. Caleb does computer things at school. Click, clack, moo.
Click, clack, moo.
And Hannah's like, hey, what are you doing? And he's like, well, you and your friends gave me homework. He's like, when do I get inducted into your secret society? He's like, well, it actually seems like someone doesn't want me there and doesn't like trust me. And Hannah says, no, I trust you. And Caleb says, then why are we dancing around this stolen phone? Hannah says, it wasn't stolen. We found it. And then trying to distract, she calls Lucas over and asks if they're still like on like for later. And Lucas is reticent about doing that. But Hannah insists that she needs his help to get a B. And he's like, okay, I can give you an hour. And then walks off. Or no, he goes to walk off. And Caleb says, you're a good man, Lucas. And Lucas grunts and leaves. Caleb asks Hannah if they can talk about the phone later. Hannah ignores it and just leaves. Garrett is in his car talking to Jenna, and they are in some sort of argument. Oh no, yeah, talking on the phone to Jenna, but he's outside her house saying like, "Hey, you should like open up the door, let me in." Toby and Spencer get up in the truck from making out, and Toby mentions that it's been like Fight Club in there ever since last night. Says Jenna is freaking out about the new eye operation. That's probably it. And then we hear like Garrett talking over the phone. The conversation is something around like, "I said it wasn't a good idea to work with him." Spencer says this doesn't sound like it's like a call about the eye operation. Like, who is he talking about? We then hear Garrett pleading with her not to hang up and come to the door, but he gets hung up on and she doesn't come to the door. Spencer, as Garrett turns to leave, then ducks down, but Toby stays put and stares Garrett right in the eyes.
Oh, he's sitting in his truck in front of his house.
Uh-huh. But just Toby being like,
"What you up to?
What you doing?" Ella and Emily are alone in a classroom at school. Emily is working on a makeup test, and Ella tells her that she only has 5 more minutes left. Emily's like, "I'm sorry, like, can I actually retake this on Monday?" Ella says, "This is already a makeup test." Like, Emily, like, no. And then she sees that Emily's distressed, and she's like, "Well, what about like tomorrow? Can you come tomorrow?" Emily's like, "I actually have community service. I got it extended after like the fight with I got a fight with Spencer. But I'm gonna be working at a crisis hotline, and it's my first day." Ella says, "Well, you've dealt with a lot of crises. Maybe you can help someone avoid them." Ella just being so petty this episode.
Mm-hmm.
Ella says you can take it on Monday, and Emily's like, "Thank you," drops off the test and goes to leave. Ella then stops her and says, like, "What else do I not know about my daughter, Emily?" Emily says, "I don't know what you mean." And I was like, "Whatever, sorry." And Emily says, "Aria's a good person. She's the same person you know, and like she's someone you can be proud of. Nothing's changed." Aria tries to call Fitz, but reaches his answering machine. She tells him that she's calling off Hannah's phone, and it's just like, but my parents will come around. Like, don't you worry. And I love you, and I hate not seeing you. Emily is at her locker as Spencer walks up asking how her test was. And then it's just like, "Hey, why don't you come with me? Let's do some spy shit today. We're going to like snoop around Jason's house because he's been missing." Emily's like, "No, I have community service." Excuse me. And so she tells her, she's like, "Why don't you ask like Aria and Hannah?" Spencer says like, "Aria's under house arrest and like Hannah's been acting like she hates me." And Emily says, "Well, just offer her your lake house again. She needs some more time with Caleb. Like, they've already made memories there." Spencer's like, "Excuse me, what now?" And Emily's like, "Oh, Hannah didn't tell you, huh?" And then turns and walks away. She's like, had already made memories on that couch. So then as Emily turns and walks away, Spencer says, "That was my Nana's couch."
It's one of the better scenes in the show.
It is a very good scene. It's so funny because it's like, oh, like, right, this kind of like small seed is like coming back up.
Uh-huh. That's the thing with this show. So like the scenes like that, they'll come back up. But like, like a big plot point where you're like, why did A have all those mice or ratchet or whatever the fuck? You're like, it never comes up again.
No. Why? Who died?
Who died?
Who died? Hannah and Lucas are studying as Lucas kind of looks off in the distance, kind of like not really paying attention. Hannah gets a call from Spencer but ignores it, then gets a text and looks sad about it. Lucas asks what it's that about, and Hannah says, "Well, she offered her lake house." And Lucas is like, "Well, why do you look so hesitant?" Hannah then says, "Oh, you know what? If I like wait, she'll offer me more things for the lake house, and like maybe we can even have Caleb's birthday there." "Wait, Lucas, that's a great idea. We should totally have Caleb's birthday there." And Lucas is like, what? And Hannah's like, no, we should totally do it. You guys are like best friends. We'll have a birthday there. Like, Caleb's probably never even had a birthday party before. It'll be a surprise, and it's gonna love it. Like, you don't even need to put money down. You just need to help me. And then Lucas kind of kind of nods and agrees. Emily is at the hotline, reviewing best practices with the team. She's getting onboarded. And they're taking them through like practice scripts and things like that before their first day.
Training,
yeah. Emily looks overwhelmed, but the instructor reassures her. It's like, don't worry about it. We got this. And then it volunteers her to read from a call script that came in the night before. They then read the phone script, and it's someone calling in saying like, oh my God, I lost something. People are going to be so mad at me. They'll never forgive me. And I'm like, I might as well be dead. I can't believe I lost it. Emily then breaks is like, wait, this person called? Like, did they call last night? Were they male or female? And the instructor's like, that part's not important. Fitz watches basketball at his apartment as he hears a knock at the door. He opens it up to Byron, who asks to come in. Byron then walks in, and Byron says, I've been thinking a lot since you came over. And, I've been teaching for 17 years, and I know how tricky it is to navigate teacher-student relationships.
Makes it feel like maybe this has happened more than once, doesn't it? Right?
Yes, it does. I'm like, this seems like a pattern. I made mistakes, but it didn't involve a minor. Byron says he also knows that his daughter had a rough year, and you were there for her. But that doesn't make it okay. Byron says, I came here so you can tell me that it was a mistake. It says, like, I know, like, being her teacher was wrong, and that's why I took the job at Hollis. That you could totally understand this, right? Byron says, like, looks at the bed, and is like, has she been here? Has she been here? Fitz goes to explain, but Byron says, you're never seeing Aria ever again, and I'll make sure the police see to that. And then walks off. Hannah walks around school as Mona and Noel stop her asking for invitations. Hannah's like, well, what do you mean? Like, I didn't think you'd actually like want to come to this party. And they're like, a party at Spencer's Lake House? Like, why wouldn't we? Noel's like, we'll be there. Mona says, surprise, we're friends now. It's all forgiven. I mean, if they didn't seem so sketchy throughout these episodes, like that's an innocent thing. It's just like at a high school party. It's just like, yeah, we're going to the Hastings Lake House because the Hastings are a big deal. Like, yeah. The friends all discuss the call log that from Emily's crisis hotline. As Hannah walks up, they agree that the person who actually arrived at the greenhouse was just a proxy for A. Spencer's like, we should all go work at the hotline. Aria's like, I can't. And Hannah says, wait, but you're coming to the surprise party, right? And Aria's like, no, I can't leave my house. Caleb then stops them all and he's like, hey, come into this classroom real quick. He tells them that he's finally cracked one of the files, and they see a picture, and it's of the 4 dolls sitting in front of a wall. He says this is obviously isn't what you're looking for, but what are you looking for? The other 3 friends did leave, and Caleb asks, what the hell happened? Or what the hell happened while I was in California? Everyone is acting weird. Even Lucas won't even look me in the eye. No one is looking me in the eye. Hannah, what is happening? Hannah says, well, I'm looking at you, and I'm wondering what to get you for your birthday dinner. He's like, the truth. I think he says a heaping helping of the truth or something. But for conciseness, I just put the truth.
Caleb gets some of the better lines,
Yeah. Hannah's like, well, I can't tell you. And Caleb says, it's a problem that you can't tell me. And Hannah says, but it's fine. We talk about the important stuff. Byron says, he's talking with Ella and says, Fitz actually tried to justify his behavior. You should have been there. And I was like, yes, why wasn't I there? What the hell happened? Byron's like, well, I don't know. I just followed him on impulse. Went to his apartment. How long was he waiting outside? Because Fitz was looked very comfortable watching basketball. Ella says, when did our family end up this way? Mike is too depressed to go to school, and Aria only goes so she can date her teacher. Byron says, you know what? I'm calling the police. Ella says, no. We have a daughter whose reputation will be ruined along with him. I understand the concern, which is very true.
Especially at that time.
Yes. Even now, I could see it. Especially school. High school kids. Oh my God, she slept with the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge thing. That shouldn't be on her. But it's totally reasonable fear to have. She says it's hard enough to walk through this town. I should say that's not a good enough reason to not go turn him in.
Yeah.
But I understand the fear.
Also, we've seen how absolutely useless the police department is in this town.
Yeah, fair enough. She said it's hard enough to walk through, but that's not really her reasoning. It's mostly just like, appearances. It's already hard enough. Byron's like, don't you want to see him pay for this? And Ella says, yes, but I want to protect Aria. We raised Aria to be independent and open-minded. We don't get to be shocked if that's who she is now. But forest for the trees.
It's interesting because she's like, Ella's on no one's side.
No. Ella's just like, well, yeah, she's not on anybody's side. Like, she doesn't actually have her daughter's back at all.
She's attacking Emily. She's attacking all of them. I wrote that down. Well, we can talk about it later.
Right.
But it's just like...
Ella in shambles. Hannah walks in and to Fitz's office. And he's like, oh, hi, Mr. Fitz. And he's just like, hello. Hannah goes to close the door and he's like, actually, I'd like you to leave that open. Hannah says, I know what's happening with Aria's parents. And, the rest of us don't feel that way. Two people who love each other should be together. That was very funny that this scene is included. Because it's just like, just to stop by and make him feel better? Or is it like trying to get him to get Aria to go to Caleb's party? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Emily and Spencer are at the crisis hotline now that Spencer has integration added herself there. The instructor picks up the call that comes into the hotline and then writes down a note for Emily to listen into the call because it's the caller from the training log. Emily then picks up the phone to listen in, and Spencer gathers around. They hear it's Lucas's voice, to which I go, he says, I had to do something. I should have known better. I just got sucked in and felt like I finally had some power. I never wanted to hurt anybody, but now I have to. I know what I have to do, but I hate to do it. We then cut to Spencer and Emily trying to talk to Hannah about Lucas, and Hannah's like, no, you heard what you wanted to hear. Spencer and Emily disagree, and it's like you don't know Lucas. You don't know what happened. Lucas hated Allison just as much as Jenna. What if he's doing something? What if A is pressuring him to do something? Just like the A is pressuring us. And Hannah's like, oh, really? Okay, do you have a recording of him calling in? Do you have proof? And the other two really try to press on her about this, and Hannah's like, just leave it alone. He's too easy of a target. Aria calls Fitz and he picks up. He asks if she should be calling, and she says, I just needed to hear your voice. He says, yes, me too, but you can't call here anymore, and hangs up. Aria cries. We see...
not a Pretty Little Liars episode if someone doesn't cry.
Exactly. A professional driver closes the door to a black car, gets inside, and drives away. Garrett then pulls up to Jenna's house, and as Toby is waiting on the front porch, Garrett asks if Jenna was alone in there and if she was going with anybody else to Boston. Jenna's actress not available this episode, so instead, Jenna is pretended to be driven away in this black car. Toby says, I have...
Gotta keep that guest star credit.
Right, exactly. We don't want to pay her more. Not at least until after season 3. Toby says, I have no idea. Garrett says, that was supposed to be me. I don't know what happened. She turned on me, Toby. Toby's like, she does that. Garrett says, all I did was everything she asked for, and that wasn't enough. Toby's like, when she's done with people, she just gets rid of them. Garrett says, I knew this town wasn't good for her. I wish we could just get out of here. Toby says, maybe she's having too much fun getting revenge. Garrett says, she's been through so much. You know what? All those, all that trauma, he doesn't say trauma, but she makes the rest of us look like cowards. Toby's like, I never questioned her strength, only how she uses it. Seems like, she's found new friends to do that with. Garrett's like, I love her, and I have to prove that to her. I will.
And Emily went, ew.
Uh-huh.
I hate when men pull the no, I'll prove it to you. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm. Jilted lover Garrett is very funny to me.
No, it's hilarious, but...
But yes, it's
you're
gross.
Doomed, sir.
Mm-hmm. Good luck. We then cut to
worst of luck, actually.
Yeah, worst of luck. Yeah.
I hope you make a mistake.
He already has. We then cut to the lake house at night. Hannah and Spencer are looking in the attic for tiki torches. Tiki torches. So Hannah goes downstairs to grab food because they hear a knock at the door. Spencer continues looking and sees torn wallpaper. She then gets a light bulb goes off in her head, so she moves boxes out of the way and sees that the picture of the dolls was taken in front of wallpaper that looked at least very similar to this, so she surmises that it was taken up here. Spencer realized that they must have been up here before. She then hears a noise in the attic as Lucas comes up. Spencer then gets very awkward and is just like, "Hey, what are you doing up here? How did you know to get up here?" Lucas is like, "Well, I thought things might be up here. I was looking for tools. Some people store tools in the attic." Spencer says, "Well, we don't," and then runs away.
Love that for her.
Byron, Ella, and Aria are going out to dinner. But then as they arrive to the restaurant, they see that Fitz is eating alone. It's like, "Well, we'll just go eat somewhere else." And Aria and Fitz stare at each other through the window until she has to leave with their family. Emily is is at the hotline and is talking to her instructor. She had just stopped by to give back the transcript page from that was missing. It's like, "Oh, how weird that that went missing. I happened to find it." And the instructor is like, "Oh, good. I'm glad you found it then." The phone rings again, and the instructor picks it up. And it has a call, but then another call comes in, and the instructor is like, "Hey, can you help me out?" And so Emily goes over and answers it.
We don't do free labor, Emily.
I know. It is a crisis hotline, so I understood that a little bit better.
Yes.
There's no one else there.
True.
I don't know what
and
kind
she's
of
not getting paid.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of crisis hotline doesn't have multiple people working at the same time. But
I don't know. I've never ran one.
Yeah,
You know
me
what?
neither.
I've never. That's not something I volunteered for.
I never neither.
I don't know if I'm great in a crisis.
You shouldn't put me on the other end of this phone. That does sound bad.
Validating is important.
Oh,
that might
true.
be helpful.
Better
Let
than
us
I
know.
thought.
We don't know.
She picks it up to Lucas, and he's like, "I spoke to you yet? I called here yesterday. Are you the person I spoke to?" And Emily's like, "Yes." Lucas is like, "I have to do it tonight." We actually then see Lucas on the other side of the phone in the attic. He says he can see her face and how horrible it would be to lose her forever. Byron and Ella argue as they walk to the next restaurant. They run into a guy named Ron who stops the family and is just like, "Hey, it's been too long. Great to see you all. I'm here with my son. It's so glad we're back in time. Hey, Holden, why don't you say hi to everybody? Say hi to Aria." And it turns out that Holden and Aria have a history of being when they were younger together. The families kind of know each other. Ella then invites them over to dinner, and Byron says it'll be great to have Aria and Holden so they can have time to catch up. Subtext. And she can forget about her teacher.
So she can tell him about dating her teacher?
Right. I really liked my English teacher.
I really like my English teacher.
Yeah. Spencer, I've been spending a lot of time at college lately. Spencer tries to catch up with Hannah at the party to try and talk to her about Lucas, but she keeps brushing her off. Mona then walks up and is like, "Hey, why did you order 3 pizzas with green peppers?" And it's like, "I didn't mean to. It must be a mistake." And it's like, "Oh, well, Noel's allergic." And Spencer then looks at Noel and Mona being there, and it's just like they're space aliens and can't comprehend why they're in her living room. Hannah then gets a text, and it's like, "Oh my God, Caleb is here early." Spencer tries to show Hannah the picture about being up there, and Hannah just completely brushes her off completely. Lucas is in the kitchen staring at the cake sadly. Emily walks in the door and then looks at him weird. Lucas is like, "Hannah went all out for this cake." Emily's like, "Well, when she loves somebody, she doesn't hold back." Lucas is like, "Caleb's a lucky guy." Emily says, "So are you. When you're Hannah's friend, she forgives a lot. Please don't do something you're going to regret, Lucas." Then Lucas turns to her suddenly, like he absolutely realized that Emily was on the other side of the phone.
Which I'm like, it kind of looked like he was going to stick his face in the cake. So I also was like, please don't do something you're going to regret.
Spencer then catches up with Emily, and Emily says, she messed up. I think, Lucas knows that we know. Spencer implores Emily to then go talk to Hannah, but they can't find her. Mona, they stop Mona, and Mona tells the two that she went off with Lucas to go set off the fireworks, across the lake. They had to take a boat. Then run to the window and see them rowing off from shore. Lucas and Hannah are in the boat as the fog rolls in. Lucas is acting all weird, and Hannah's like, hey, why did we suddenly stop rowing? We get like some underwater POV shots as it gets closer to the boat. Hannah then goes to row, and Lucas grabs the oar, and he's like, sit down. We hear Spencer yell for her, like from the shore. Lucas tells her, we're not going anywhere, and don't answer Emily and Spencer's cries. Very funny what this turns out to be. Lucas says that this is hard for me to do. And Hannah's just like, well, like, what about like the fireworks and things? And he's like, it's not about those stupid fireworks. And then he goes to stand up and grab the box, where Hannah jumps into the action, grabs the oar from the boat, and smacks him in the back, and he falls off into the water.
Mm-hmm.
We then see Spencer and Emily on the shore, wondering what they can do. Hannah tries to row, but then a hand like reaches up and like the oar gets stuck, so then the boat tips over as Hannah falls in. Spencer and Emily call for Hannah as Emily runs inside to call for the police. We then cut to see Fitz's phone ringing as the message picks up. Aria leaves a message saying, my dad is still mad, but like my mom may be coming around. So like just hold tight, like love you. And then she hears a knock at the door, so she hangs up super quickly. Ella comes in and says, hey, Holden and his family coming over to dinner next Sunday. Isn't that exciting? Aria's like, oh, I was just like on the phone with Holden. We were talking about hanging out. But I guess we can't since I'm grounded. And I was like, well, if it's Holden, that's all right. That might be okay. We then get Aria's knowing look as we get like this fade transition from her, like her face to the lake. Spencer looks out at the water as a crowd is gathered around the shore. Hannah resurfaces and swims back. Mona and Noel then walk very conspicuously into frame, and they're like, oh my god, we're both wet. How wild. We were just skinny dipping. Then Emily, as Emily wonders where they were, Caleb walks up asking what's going on as Hannah comes back to shore, and Hannah says, surprise. They then see the boat kind of float back upside down. We then cut to Lucas's shoe in the lake. A gloved hand with an oar grabs the shoe out of the lake. The end.
All right. First and foremost, why is Byron slut shaming his daughter?
Yeah. This is I would say, textbook Byron example. I'm gonna punish you, and I can't figure out how to punish you because this is a like situation that is so wild and breaking my brain. That like my new colleague that I liked,
and it's complicated in all the ways that like he can't compute.
Exactly. And he sees like himself in it also, so that it just completely breaks his brain. So he's like, I just have to punish my daughter. That's what I need to do. I need to be harder on her.
Like, did he forget he sucks?
Yes. Byron has no self-awareness around
He's
this.
the most white man of the white men on the show. Hannah's dad's up there.
I was going to say Tom being really competing with him there. Tom forcing the family back onto the other family is certainly something, but also Byron made his own wife move out because he cheated on her.
Yeah, if we are going to rank worst fathers, the Pretty Little Liars dad would stack up pretty good. Peter Hastings is destroying evidence.
Right. and is never around.
And bullying his daughter's boyfriend when he is.
Right.
Yeah, no, the only one worth anything is Emily's dad, and he's in Texas.
Yeah. God. Yeah, we Wayne respect zone. But the Montgomery crisis response is all over the place.
They're very so then my next thing was like cold Ella. Like Ella's cold with Emily. She's mean to Emily. Well, you've been through some crises. Like,
about like
crises.
Exactly. And then being extremely mean to her daughter as well. Like her daughter made this decision to, she did in a sense, a decision to enter into a relationship with her teacher. But then at the same time, like the onus is on the teacher, not the person being groomed.
Oh,
it's,
also,
they could be, sorry.
No, but like also like what I find the whole thing, it's like they set up the show to make the parents look like the bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, they are, but like we could still address the elephant in the room.
Right. But that's not where we are going with their relationship.
Ella has the weirdest episode. Like, I'm
Yeah.
like, she has a different mood in every scene.
Totally. And it's always just like, I understand that they're communicating that she is overwhelmed because shit has hit the fan with their family this year. I get that. But like, it's hard to be sympathetic when she's taking it out on 16-year-olds.
Yes. Yeah.
One who is in a very vulnerable situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then like, it's just the parents are like, oh, well, she's gotten this older man thing out of her head. Now she can go date a boy. Like, oh, it's all's fixed. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, they intentionally hire, like, I assume the actor for Holden was chosen because he had a baby face. And, like, he looks pointedly younger.
Yeah. No. I wouldn't be surprised if he was younger than the rest of the cast, or at least like on part of the same age as Lucy Hale.
Yeah, but I don't think she was. I don't remember what the gap was between her and Ian Harding, but it's not that
I
big.
remember it was like 3. I think it was like 2023 or something.
Yeah,
so I'm assuming he's like probably around the same age. But babyface also.
Yeah, I didn't look him up. But yes. Then how long until Toby knows about A? Or does Toby get to know about A?
I hope so.
Just 7 seasons of Toby not knowing.
I know. It better know soon. Before the end of the season. Same with Caleb.
Caleb too?
Yeah, it'll probably be the same episode for both of them.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it'll be like a Band-Aid gets ripped off so they both understand. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yes. No, I accept. What's up with Lucas? What's going on, buddy?
Yeah. The resolution on it is so funny. For like that for what it ends up being for, that we find out in the next episode.
Mm-hmm. But do you think, and we can talk about this more in the episode, do you think he's telling the truth in that episode?
I mean, I do think that's at least part of it. Was he also enticed? Because I'm latching onto the like he looked very similar to the body build to the person that was in the greenhouse.
Mm-hmm.
That there's something going on there. But I do think at least the when we get the losing the money in sports, on a sports book, is absolutely true. But do I think like maybe he was enticed by like A when he lost money to like do this thing for them?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what the Lucas angle on that is that Lucas is in a vulnerable position and is now tied to other people, like because of this,
Mm-hmm.
and did have to come clean. But like it's very funny because they have to make it look, they make it seem ominous, like this whole thing that's going to be building, like that he's going to like do something,
Mm-hmm.
and that he's yelling at Hannah in the boat. But then what the explanation is next episode is that he need to make an apology. It's really funny.
Yeah, you're like, that's what he's gonna do.
So we have to go to the middle of the lake. I'm gonna force you to hear this.
That's why we all need to learn to be really significantly more comfortable with our shame, so that we don't then
Yes.
put people in boats in the middle of the lake to yell at them.
Because Hannah's very much in the right to smack him with a paddle.
Yeah, I would have left him out there.
Mm-hmm.
Boy talk with Garrett and Toby. We got a nice little like, well, Jenna leaves people when she's done with them.
Yeah, I love this little glimpse into shit that's going wrong. I mean, we haven't had Jenna since the time jump.
How long until Jenna leaves Garrett?
I think she already has. Yeah.
Garrett doesn't know.
Yeah, I do think that Wilden setup is like a clue for us.
The flashback Wilden setup?
For like what's happening now. I'm dead set that that's what's happening.
Ooh, okay.
And that Jenna is more tendrils in terms of like Toby said. Like I think that we should take that as literally what's happening in the show. That like Jenna is like found new people to like exact her plan on.
Got it. Okay.
That's what I think. But I always love Toby just like staring people down that are meant to like Yeah, it's like, I'm not scared of you.
Yeah, what are you gonna do?
Uh-huh.
I've already been told I'm a murderer.
Right, exactly. Kids run screaming from me. What you gonna do?
Let's talk about Spencer's Lake House.
Beautiful.
You wanna go?
Yeah, let's go. I love the lake house.
From the Warner Brothers studio lot, I'm sure.
Right, it's right outside probably, I'm sure, the Jungle Cruise set that they like find themselves in every other episode.
It might be the same set. So are we suspicious of anyone at that party?
The Noel Mona thing, I think they are like, my new theory on like what they're doing is like a tear down from Jenna, of like trying to like do something, but I think they're kind of like what the this isn't a great comparison, very timely, like the Rocky and Bullwinkle like spies. They're like stumble bums, like pretty much, like they're like, oh yeah, we're gonna like put the screws to them with our master plan, but it's just like, what, you were doing a plan? Because it's like very suspicious of them, whatever the hell they were doing. We were going skinny dipping, and I think like the next episode, like Mona stuff is like half truths.
Interesting.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Because otherwise I'd be really disappointed if it's nothing. If there's like meetup, if there's like relationship that I was like, oh, this fun, like this like chaotic relationship that they set up at the beginning. I feel like that's the other thing with, let's finish the thought, then I'll come back around to it. That if it's all just like they were dating like off screen and then now they're not, like, well, and like maybe Noel like used her to like get information, like that's not fun because we didn't see any of it. And I feel like this season has a lot of that, of just like, we're gonna talk about people that aren't here. And it's like, god damn it, like the whole Melissa stuff. Melissa is having this whole plot line through like asides. Oh yeah, Melissa has a weird heart problem. Oh yeah, Melissa's like living in Philadelphia. Like, okay, like, you're just telling me like what is happening to Melissa without actually showing us. It's like, and I think both these episodes do that. And I think the Mona and like Noel stuff of just being like super awkward, like, oh, we were just skinny dipping and stuff, and like having them ingratiate themselves onto the party too, is like all in the background. So like, I want to see that.
Yeah. You just want to follow Mona for a day.
I want to see what they're up to. Yeah. Or at least like have like Noel be a character again. He shows up in that, you know, he's back in town, like we said, and then he hasn't done jack. At least like on camera.
That's true.
So it's like, okay.
Okay, and then my last thought, we kind of touched on this already, but do you think Aria's parents are going to report Fitz?
No. No. Should they? Yes.
Yes.
They're not going to. It's exactly the Elle's reasoning of like tying in everything else with this town of like appearances. They're everything. So now they're not going to do it.
That's all I have for this episode.
And there's going to be like some sort of weird like detente with like Fitz. I think that's going to come later.
What do you mean by that?
That like eventually it's going to reach a point of just like, yeah, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I guess we'll see.
You'll have to
maybe
see.
Not.
I'm not saying anything in any direction, either way, at all. Hold on to that thought.
Perfect. All right. Episode 38. Let the water hold me down. Hannah is gathered around fire, looking sad.
Hannah is gathered around fire, looking sad.
That's right.
Not a fire. Not the fire.
But yeah, I said around a fire.
You said Hannah is gathered around fire, looking sad. Or at least that's what I heard. And that's what I was like.
Fair enough.
I mean, she
fireplace.
is. But...
Aria comes over and hands her aspirin. The friends are all at Spencer's, and Spencer says like they're gonna drag the lake first thing tomorrow morning. Hannah's like, Lucas isn't in the lake. He knows how to swim. He's out there. I can feel it. Aria says, I can't believe Lucas would help A. Like, I get why A, like, could get him, but like she doesn't. I don't see like Lucas being violent. Hannah says he can be like he actually destroyed Allison's memorial, and I didn't tell you guys. The rest of the friends then wonder why she kept a secret, and Hannah says to protect him. Allie put him through a lot. Hannah then goes to drink out of a water bottle. It was out of her purse, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then they find out that it's like filled with like lake water. Hannah then gets a text from A that says, "No fun chugging lake water, is it? Choke on this bitch." Ashley, Hannah, and Emily are in the kitchen. Hannah says Lucas called his parents today, so like we know he's okay. And Ashley says his parents must be out of their minds. Like, worried. Did he say anything? Was there drinking at this party? Like, did he argue with anyone? You know what? Actually, can I have his parents' number? I need to call them. And Hannah's like, why? And it's like, because their son disappeared at a party that my daughter hosted. I know you feel bad, Hannah. But I need to do this. Emily says, like, oh, you know what? We actually have to get to Spencer's for a group project, and they believe. Spencer dumps out a bag of burner phones that she found in her attic at the lake house. She found a date on the receipt, and it's from around the same time Hannah and Caleb were there. Spencer then even says, all men in a sofa. Spencer says Lucas knew his way around the attic. He was probably trying to clean up for Garrett and Jenna. They then look at the receipt and they see that it's like from a place like this in Philly. Spencer's like, you want to go after school and like check it out? Aria agrees, but Hannah says no, like I can't. Aria and Spencer then talk about Holden being back in town, and Aria covering like trying to talk to Fitz, like to her mom. Spencer says like, I'm so sorry, like about Fitz and your parents. That's awful. Holden then walks over and it's just like, hey, like, you know, how's it going? Great to see you both. Like, I'm back from Portugal after a year abroad. Like, my dad, it was like horrible. He then asks Aria to go out. Like, are you available like tonight? Aria's like, no, like, I'm not. And like, let's like, I'm not available. Like, and Holden says, oh, really? Your parents said like it would be okay. Spencer's like, wait, what? Like, did you call and ask for permission? And it's like, that's like really old school. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm like, my parents like told me it's like a, you know, good thing like to do. Like,
no, my parents are on a mission to return to old values,
there you go.
Original values or something like that.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's his parents' thing.
And Aria's like, if it would be like, is this like a date? And then he's like, would that be weird? Or he's like, okay, it'll be great to hang out. As like Spencer knowingly smiles at her. Mona tells Hannah about Noel being on the phone with someone the entire time at the birthday party and that he's acting weird. Hannah tries to get her to like stop talking about this because like she's like really worried about Lucas, but Mona continually redirects it back to Noel. And it said that she had to like take him skinny dipping just to get his attention. Hannah then notices that the picture of Hannah as the homecoming queen is being taken down. And she asks about the student. The student says the principal doesn't think orange jumpsuits and tiaras go together. Mona then yells, and it's like, she's not giving it back. Put it back up. Mona then calls Hannah out on not listening to her and berates her for not listening when, like, she always does. And is like, I'm sorry, I just have a lot going on. Mona says, so do I. Like, I poured my heart out to someone who cares more about her homecoming photo than her friend. Hannah then goes into the bathroom and cries as she hears someone kind of stomping around into the bathroom. Emily gets a call, but the caller says gets a call and she doesn't recognize it. And the caller's like, don't you work at the crisis hotline? Like, I have a problem for you. And it's like, wait, who is this? And it turns out it's Maya. They talking about going to see a band later and need to get fake ID. Maya then gets a call on the other line, looks at it angry, and is like, hey, never mind, like, I'll just call that person later. They then agree that they will see each other for the concert later. Hannah yells like, hey, hello, like outside the bathroom stall to no answer. She then sees water pooling at her feet and hears the door. So she comes out and sees all the sinks running and a toy rowboat in them. She gets a text from A that says, life is but a dream, Hannah, and I'm your nightmare. Aria and Spencer catch up at the lunch tables. Aria's buying tickets for the Playhouse to go with Holden. Spencer says, well, doesn't like Fitz have like season tickets there? What if he's like there? What if you run into him? And Aria's like, oh, he loves Arthur Miller. Maybe, what if he's there and we just happen to sync up? Wouldn't that be funny? And then Spencer's like, okay, wait, we got to go to our Philly train, and they leave. Hannah and Caleb are hanging out and talking. Hannah mentions that Caleb says Lucas called again this morning, but didn't want to talk to me. He said that he was at his cousin's house. And so like Caleb called the cousin, but it sounded like the cousin was actually just covering for him. So he thinks he's there. Caleb's like, hey, we should go back and check Spencer's lake house. And Hannah's like, well, when he's ready, like to talk, like Lucas will talk. Caleb says like, I want to help him. Like, you don't want to find him. Why don't you want to find him? Like what happened in that boat out there? And Hannah says, I told you the whole story. Caleb says, stop this. You've like always told me the truth. So what's happening now? Hannah says, if you want to go find him, then go. Then Caleb grabs his jacket and leaves. And then gets a text from Mona saying, we have to talk. Spencer and Aria are looking for the building in Philadelphia. But they like can't find it. And then instead they just find a newsstand there. And that would be like where the receipt would be from. And so Aria's like, well, maybe this receipt is actually just your parents picked something up at the newsstand when like they're visiting Melissa. And hey, doesn't she live super close to here? Not that we see. Spencer's like, this is a bust. And Aria's like, well, I have to go on my date. See ya. Spencer then sees a blind woman with her seeing eye dog crossing the street, and then notices another blind man walking somewhere across the street. Maya and Emily are hanging at the crisis hotline before Emily gets off. They then go to leave as Maya gets a text. She looks angry again. Emily asks if things are okay, and Maya's like, good, yeah, it's fine. Actually, I have to deal with this. Like, can we like catch up later? She kisses Emily and leaves. Spencer follows the blind man to a courtyard and sees that it's a rehab clinic for the blind. She follows the man in. Spencer then asks about Jenna at the front desk and if she went here. The front desk says, like, everybody's confidential, and I can't even tell you, like, if she went here or what chair she used to sit in. Spencer then goes to leave when a man stops her and says, you're looking for Jenna. I know her. Emily catches up with Hannah at the house. Emily says Maya's meeting me later and that, like, she's keeping something from me. And, like, should I just, like, ask her about it? Hannah says, why isn't anybody allowed to keep a secret anymore? Like, good God. And Maya just could be bugging out for a billion other reasons other than A. Emily says, okay, Hannah, never take a job at a crisis center. Hannah says, Caleb and I got into this fight. Like, but it sucks being the girlfriend that knows too much. And Emily says, well, the inverse is just as bad. Spencer pours coffee for the man she just met. He shows her his technique for...
I don't know. It made it sound like, like, I don't know, like that he was like a random. I mean, like,
he is.
but like he's... I don't know. It just made me laugh.
And he shows her like his technique for finding the sugar. Because it turns out he's also blind and went to the rehabilitation clinic here. He says like, oh, you went to school with Jenna, like when she moved to Rosewood. And Spencer's like, no, we lost touch. I knew her before Rosewood and before she came here. He says he got to know her when she came here. And he's like, I have a genetic condition that like my eyesight sorely deteriorated and I was depressed. Jenna pulled me out of it. She was really determined and motivated to get out of here. Spencer wonders where Jenna would leave to and where she would go. He says she would like say things she had to do like back home. He says like, oh, that he's out of the recap now, but like he just like comes back and like what do you
like teaches classes?
Teaches classes, yeah. Volunteers. Jenna, Jenna actually is the one that put me in touch with Art. He then goes to shake Spencer's hand and to leave and notices that Spencer's pulse is racing. He's like, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, it's fine. He's like, oh, that's a trick that Jenna also taught me. She's really good at reading people. Spencer then goes to leave and the front desk makes her sign before she goes. Spencer goes to sign out, but then notices the wall of sign-in books. Spencer walks over, pockets one, and leaves. Aria and Emily talk about getting like fake IDs, and Emily asks to borrow Arias for Maya. Hannah feels like Lucas is just like out there, like waiting for her somewhere. Emily and Aria both volunteered to like stay home with Hannah, like since she'll be like home alone at the house. Hannah's like, "Don't worry, go on your dates. My mom will be home soon. Like, don't worry about this at all." So the two friends leave to go on their respective dates as it thunders and rains outside. Aria is at the playhouse and meets Holden. Holden asks like, "Hey, why are you like grounded and whatnot?" And she's like, "It's just a long story." Aria goes to grab the tickets and is like, "Oh yeah, kind of. They're two for Montgomery, and are there also two for Fitz?" And the guy goes to pull out the two tickets to hand her, and he's like, "No, sorry, like just wanted to see there." As Aria goes to walk back over to turns to go back to Holden, she sees Fitz get out of a cab, and Aria looks at him very happily. Fitz looks like he's seen a ghost as this like serene music plays.
It's the worst facial expression I've ever seen. It's like almost a lack of a expression.
It's so funny. Holden then walks up to Aria with a teacher from Rosewood as they like catch up and talk. Aria and Holden go inside as Fitz walks up to get tickets, and the teacher stops him to greet him. Spencer is out near the train station alone. They try to make this train station look like as sketchy as possible. And it's obviously her coming back from Philadelphia.
So we know the socioeconomic status of Rosewood.
But it's like it looks like it's like very like there's no one around. It's by herself. And so she runs to her car, but hears someone walk up, and then it's Mona, which absolutely scares her. Mona's like, "Hey, didn't know you're going down to Philly. Like, what took you down there?" Like, "I was out there therapeutic shopping and couldn't get in touch with Hannah, so just went on my own." But like, if you see her, like, can you tell? No, wait, like, never mind. Spencer then offers to like, I'll give like Hannah your message for like. I'll give Hannah the message from you. Mona then starts to cry that Noel broke up with her, and she doesn't know why. And she's like, "The shopping didn't help. I think he broke me." Spencer offers her a tissue and is like, "You can raise the bar a bit. Like, there's plenty of guys out there. If you are the Mona you want to be, don't let the Noel cons of the world tell you what to do." Mona's like, "You're smart. I thought you were just book smart." Mona says thank you and walks away. It's a very sweet scene.
Yeah, you like it?
I liked it a lot.
You just love Mona.
Yeah,
you just love Mona.
And then Spencer Spencer gives really good advice, like in a very like nice way, because Spencer's not fond of her. She doesn't like her, but like she extends a lot of grace to Mona in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
The not English teacher, the teacher from Rosewood catches up with Holden and Aria, and she talks about how nice it is. Like, these kids are seeing a play instead of, on their iPhones. They've been listening to their hippity hop. The teacher then says, like, "Oh, I was here with Mr. Fitz, who had an extra ticket. You, like, might remember him, Aria." But he had to go home because he had an upset tummy. And then Aria looks sad. Hannah hangs up after trying to call Caleb. And then Ashley comes home and says, "There's dinner on the table," but Hannah stays quiet. Ashley asks if Hannah's okay, and Hannah's like, "Yes." Hannah tries Caleb again and then catches his voicemail and apologizes for arguing. So she's worried since you're out there on your own looking for Lucas. Hannah then hears her back door blow open and runs to like go over and lock it and close it. And the back door latch is kind of broken, so Hannah just kind of fixes it and then walks away. We then see the camera cut to muddy shoe prints in the kitchen. Emily and Maya wait in line for the music venue. Maya gets a call, but ignores it, and Emily asks, like, "Hey, is like someone bothering you?" Maya says, "No, I should just turn my phone off." Emily says, "Whatever it is, tell me like when you're ready." And Maya's like, "Well, okay, like when like I was away, like at camp and things. I hooked up with someone, and it didn't last very long, and I ended it. And Maya's like, sorry, I should have told you right away. And Emily says it's over, it's all right, it's all good. No need to worry about it.
Yeah,
Maya
because Emily dated Paige, who tried to drown her.
Soon I forget. Maya says it is. But looks like he won't take a no for an answer. And then Emily starts looking worried at the thought. Emily realizes bisexuality exists. Holden asks Aria if she wants to grab coffee after the play. He says, actually, maybe you went out with the wrong person tonight. I saw the way you looked at him before the show, and how you did when you realized he wasn't there. And Aria asks him not to say anything or anything to his parents. Holden says, you're not the only one who wants to keep things from his parents. How long have you been seeing him? And Aria says, a while. And it's sorry if this was a mistake. And Holden says, or maybe an opportunity. What are you doing next Saturday? Hannah sits alone looking at the rain, worried. Ashley calls for her, and Hannah walks over. We see someone rush into her room, and Hannah, as Hannah walks over to help Ashley, we then see someone behind her, Hannah's not facing the same way, rush into her room. Hannah then goes back, enters her room as Lucas closes the door. Hannah is just my mom is right down the hall, and Lucas is I don't want to hurt you. Lucas is very bad at this. Worst way to lead up to an apology. And Hannah asks, where's Caleb? We then see Caleb entering Hannah's house. Lucas goes to explain, and Hannah yells at him not to come any closer. Caleb, we see, is then downstairs in Hannah's house walking around, and Hannah calls him, so he comes rushing upstairs. Lucas is I can't let you leave this room. And then Caleb barges in. Lucas is I don't know how Emily found out about me being on the crisis, calling in on the crisis hotline. I wanted to get your help, so I took us out on the boat. Hannah says, it didn't seem like that. And Lucas is I was scared, Hannah. I needed you to help soften the blow when I tell Caleb. Caleb's say what?
Tell me what?
Uh-huh. Lucas is your money's gone. And Caleb's what? It's your money's gone. Caleb then explains that he had Lucas hold on to his money while he was out in California. Lucas says, most of mine is gone too. And Caleb asks how much, and he says about $4,000. Lucas says it was supposed to be a sure thing. I was betting on a basketball tournament. So
the sports book scene.
Yeah, here's the thing. Okay, we'll explain what it is, and then I'll get into what in the hell he probably bet on. I was betting on a basketball tournament. A team got disqualified, and so therefore I lost the team I was betting on got disqualified, so I lost my money. Lucas is pulls out a bunch of cash, hands it to Caleb, and says it's not everything, but this will be on the road back. Caleb was asked where he got it. Lucas said, I sold a bunch of my collectibles at comic stores around the area and wanted to make things right. Lucas says, Hannah, please say something. And Hannah says, you aren't who I thought you were.
Oh.
Okay, so professional if you're going to be betting on things, professional basketball does not do a tournament. Mm-mm. And there's only NCAA tournament once a year. That big one. And unless he's betting on small
games.
Yeah. Which then Lucas is seriously in deep. So unless he's I was betting on a local high school tournament.
I was really betting we would win the championships. Right. I was betting it would be us, Rosewood.
We were at a weekend invitational. Oh my god. I thought it was so funny. I'm what the hell was he betting on? Definitely or some small they'll do tournaments for college where it'll be a tournament the Hawaiian tournament or something where it's just 6 college teams over a weekend. Mm-hmm. So okay, so then the friends all then meet and wonder who is actually at the greenhouse. Spencer pulls out the sign-in booklet from the day before Allison disappeared. And you don't find Allison's name on there at all, and they wonder hey, was Jenna totally lying when she said that Allison came to visit her the day before? But they do see that Garrett came and he picked her up and they were gone all night.
Dun, dun, dun.
Aria mentions that Jenna said Allison had blackmailed her and didn't come back to Rosewood at all before then. So where was she? They then open up their food and that they find it's filled, the takeout food that they'd gotten, and find that it's filled with worms and dirt. Emily then gets a text from A that says, "This is what live bait looks like. Now we're even, bitches." A gloved hand works on a it's like it looks like it's inside like a building. So it is building like what you like a metal like scaffolding is like putting it together, but we don't quite see. It's like zoomed in on just like the work of the hands on the scaffolding. And like tightens the screw on it or something, but we don't see what like the full picture would
They
be.
loosen a screw. I thought it was maybe like a screen covering Hannah's broken door, and they were like loosening it. Like,
No,
like
it
tarp,
looked like they,
plastic tarp.
but there were like metal rods crisscrossing, so it looked like something you'd set up as like a backdrop for like an art piece or like
Got
a
it.
metal scaffolding for like when you're working on something. That's what it looked like to me.
Okay.
So they could have been loosening it.
I think they were loosening it.
Got it.
But okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Why is A storing shit at Spencer's lake house?
I mean, it's perfect. Like nobody's there. And it's beautiful.
There you go.
It's the perfect hideout. And then there's nothing that comes back around on the burner phones. I'm
Or the
wondering
fact
if
that like the photo of the dolls was definitely taken in the house.
right, exactly. So maybe that'll come back up later, but like we never get confirmation of like are all these burner phones just completely dead? Or is it like
I don't think they'd been opened.
they were on a no? She pours them out of a bag.
Oh, I thought
It's-
it was like them and still like in the plastic though, like the pay-as-you-go
Oh,
phones.
Maybe I forget then.
But I could be wrong.
Yeah, but I mean, where is a better layer than the Hastings Lake House
Fair enough.
during the off season?
Yeah. Aria must always have two men. There's a rule here. Jason
Yes,
and
you
Ezra,
said that.
Noel and Ezra,
Uh
Holden and Ezra, and yet she still picks the dud.
huh. Well, Holden's
Noel did try to like he's pulled a
Noel's
fat.
also Noel's. She doesn't have great choices.
She has no good. She has so many options and none of them are good.
Yeah, too many prospects. Her family's a burden on her. It's
Everyone's
the
a burden
inverse
on her.
Yeah, it's the inverse of Joe.
Yeah, Joe.
But yeah, you mentioned the rule of twos, and then I'm immediately thinking it's like just like the Sith. Do you know about the rule of twos in Star Wars?
And the whole balance thing.
For the specifically the dark side.
Yeah, that there can only be two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if there's more of them, they would kill each other.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point there was a Sith Empire, but then at a certain point, one person that became, that like became a leader of the Sith was just like, we need to cut this out. There can only be two of us.
I love it.
But I don't know what to think about Holden. It is very funny because like Spencer regards him as like kind of like a weird kid.
Uh-huh.
But then it's just like, oh, like he's kind of into Aria, and Aria's like friends with him. I don't really know what to read on him, and you kind of groaned about this the night too, like the plot line of like, oh, like we'll pretend to date, ha ha ha.
The fake dating trope.
Yeah, so then it's like, oh, but like I'll be here when like this doesn't work out with the other guy. Is what I'm assuming is happening. So I don't know.
Sounds like you've read a lot of romance literature, doesn't it?
So I don't know.
What are teen soaps like this, if not just YA novels or like romance novels brought to the weekly screen?
It's just a younger version of soaps.
Okay. What's happening with Maya? Is it just the guy that she hooked up with at rehab?
It is a guy that she hooked up with at rehab. Do I think there's other stuff going on because of my wider A theory? Yes.
Oh, that fits nicely into your theory.
It really does, yeah. And so this is it's not Garrett, but Garrett.
Garrett.
Sound it out.
You can just count the vowels, baby.
Right, but it's similar. Because of my pronunciation, but someone similar to like how Garrett is acting on. I'm assuming that's a pretty similar call on the other side. But someone that was pulled into her, maybe complicit on something. I am assuming that this will probably be, at least first, will be Emily coming to terms with like Maya liking more than just like women.
Okay.
That's where it seems to be going, because Emily's like, wait, what now? It was a he. So I think that's where it'll be going with our next visit with Maya, which may be in a couple episodes.
Or bi and or pansexual queen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just thought that was really funny. It's just like, this is a very which I don't know. It read as like, this seems like a very heteronormative way to write this.
Fair enough.
You know what I mean?
Of her reaction.
Yeah, of Emily's reaction.
Well, I think it also, like, Emily had a very heteronormative upbringing.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think it's like, there's so much that she's still constantly having to grapple with.
As we all know, she is Catholic.
It's not canon, but in your heart.
Right. I mean, that would help explain some of that too.
Jenna's friend from school, what do we think about him?
Oh, the gentle man at the school. Yeah, I mean, seems like a very nice guy, helping out with art, very on the up and up. I was like, is this gonna be like another like romance for like Spencer coming up here? Just because it's like this handsome guy who's very soft and gentle. Like, or he could just be like someone else's. But I'm like, are we gonna get more of this guy? He read to me as like a potential love interest in the future for someone, rather than like an important plot piece, because it's like this
very charismatic, calm.
Yeah, and it's like this handsome guy who's like very like soft and well spoken, and I was like, is this gonna be a love interest?
Yeah, well, that would make sense because you have to counter Spencer with softness,
right? Or it could not be here too. I don't know, but that's how I was reading that.
Fair enough. The Spencer and Mona scene, you already talked about it a little because you liked it.
It's great. Yeah. Like I said, I also getting Mona something to do like outside of Hannah is also nice. That she has feelings. And that she has feelings.
You heard it here first, folks.
Right.
Mona has feelings.
Yeah. Another thing for these episodes is just like, so what happened with Noel? Noel isn't a character that I'd like to know about. I don't think Mona is like completely lying or anything about like where she's at with like Noel getting broken up with and stuff.
Why do you think they broke up?
Right. I do think there's other motives probably happening there. Was Noel using her? I do think that's part of it.
Oh, that's so sad.
But was Mona also excited to be part of his plans when they were together? I think so.
What were his plans?
I don't know.
Fair enough.
Getting back at them, at the friends, and I think there's a part of like Mona that like doesn't really care about the rest of them, and it's like, just don't harm Hannah.
Fair enough. Was Fitz sick to his tummy, or did he just leave out of the sads?
I think it could be both. Was he very nervous, possibly, or was he just like, I can't do this, and it makes him sick to his tummy?
Or Fitz? Not really, but
Yeah.
no one deserves a tummy ache. But yeah, no, I was like, it's so funny. He had a tummy ache and he laughed.
Yeah, it's really funny. Oh, his stomach was hurting.
Lucas's story about why he took Hannah out on the lake. Do you believe it?
I think it's again like a half truth. I do think he was meaning to come clean. I do not think he was like trying to hurt her or anything. And I think there's more to this losing the money story. Although, like I said, very funny that he was betting on like some small time tournament to make money on the sports book. But I don't think I think it's like tied up again. I like the idea that A was making him like do something for them because he lost some money. So I think there's maybe more to it that he didn't get to tell her.
Fair enough. How many episodes until Caleb knows about A?
Yeah. You know, I bet both Caleb and Toby aren't gonna know until the A reveal. Until like this A is like over and dealt with. I don't think they're gonna find out before.
Okay.
Because more lead up to put the main like 4 in more peril seems like how it would go to me.
Got it. Fair enough.
I think. So that's they'll probably both find out when it's like the big blow up of like, oh my god, they were in danger somehow.
Fair enough. Okay, and then last but not least, before we lead into Theory Corner, who is least likely to be A?
Least likely.
I thought that'd be fun.
Yeah, that is a good one. Least likely to be A.
Like, who would you, if you had to pick someone that you were like certain was not A, and not like, you know, oh, it's not like the English teacher, I guess Ezra,
right,
but like,
right.
you know what I mean?
We're talking about like actual like characters.
Mm-hmm.
I have like the main cast.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be hard pressed to come up with a reason why Aria would be
Okay.
A.
Yeah. Well, any of the main girls, I guess.
Right, but the same with like Spencer too, because Spencer really goes after it.
Mm-hmm.
Emily just because she gets put in harm's way. So yeah, let's go with the like side characters and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like I'm trying to think. So like Mona and Noel, there's like some fishy stuff going on there. Like mostly Mona's relationship with Noel, like that's her. Like why it seems fishy for her. Lucas, yeah, all this week. Maya, you know, had that long exit. Caleb has been going in and out, but
Toby.
I want to say Toby, but they could really fucking pull the rug out from under me. I'd be devastated.
You'd be so sad.
I'd be very sad.
Yeah.
But I would say okay, so rationally and objectively, who would I potentially pick? Caleb is also pretty high up there.
Yeah,
we've had his like reveal almost, so I'd almost say Caleb more likely than Toby, because Toby we haven't had anything else, you know, and
he was accused of murder and then it's been real quiet.
And Toby has like a past history of like contentiousness with like Allison. I mean, she was telling people that he was peeping on her when it was actually the guy she was seeing. So I'd say Caleb would probably be the top out of like active characters that we have going on right now. Unless I'm forgetting anybody else, but I think like they would be up there.
Jenna, Melissa are the only other ones you didn't mention, but I feel like they have suspicion.
Yeah, oh yes, absolutely. Jenna's doing something, even if Jenna is an A. So yeah, I'd say Caleb. Yeah,
I like it.
So are we getting into who's most likely to be A?
Yeah. Now take me. Who's A?
Okay.
Tell me the story.
Let us.
Who is in charge of everything? Who's hurting us?
Who watches The Watchmen? Let us step into. Theory Corner. Brenton's Theory Corner, where we go through the theories and we sit in a corner.
We're supposed to make you sit in the corner while you do this.
I was gonna say we're in trouble. I still like the. Excuse me.
Oh God, it took him out.
I still like Maya being A.
Okay.
And I don't think her talking to. She hasn't been around for a while, and it's going to be a heartache for Emily. It will be, and I don't think she's like lying about the guy calling.
Okay.
But I do think that there's going to be more to that the guy is going to be like, oh, she didn't tell you, to like Emily, and then Emily's going to be devastated. But so there's, and you know, Maya has just enough like non-specifics in her background that would make it a really easy way to like pull her in as A.
Should be an easy A.
That's right. Someone brought that up the other day. Of like,
It's like a really good movie.
yeah, it's a good time.
I thoroughly enjoy that movie every time I watch it.
Yeah.
And then I promptly forget it exists until like something triggers it.
That was pretty much the tenor of the conversation that it is in like a Discord. But it's funny the Lucas misdirection. I still think he's connected to A.
Okay.
As floated earlier, holding the money Lucas lost over his head. Melissa again. Melissa could still be in there.
Mm-hmm.
Not a character right now, though. Like,
yeah.
She's doing something. She's in Philadelphia.
She's having a baby.
Yeah, and apparently heart problems.
Mm-hmm.
But not that we'd get that. Jenna, I still think is pulling a lot of strings.
Mm-hmm.
But do I think like Jenna's afraid of one person? A.
Ooh, okay.
Right. But I do think Jenna is, puppet master on another side there.
Okay.
I still like Jason as Black Hoodie, but Jason is gone.
But Jason is son.
Jason is not followed up on. Hopefully Jason comes back before the end of the season because I do like the plots that revolve around Jason.
I really like Jason as a character. Like I forgot, I was like, wow, his plot's compelling compared to everyone else's.
Yeah, it's great. I like Jason a lot. Other than the Arias crap.
And even then, it's like it's not great. It's just not.
Yeah, it's like okay. Like again,
her options are so bad that he starts to look okay.
Yeah, it's just
the photos of her sleeping though were.
Yeah, that's a big weird one.
I would not like framed photos of me sleeping for my birthday.
No, I don't care who took them.
Well, if someone besides you took them, I have other questions.
Oh, it was your friend. What? No. Anybody else?
What about Ezra?
Oh, we're always in the mix there.
What about
dude.
Noel?
Noel, I do think Noel coming back in this week as Noel and Mona doing things in the background. I do think Noel is trying to do something to like get over on them. But I think it's more stumble bum-ish than as put together as like A. I think he's just trying to be like a low-key menace. That's like all they give him to do this season is just be like, yes, and smile at them creepily. And it's like, it's been like that for like this entire season. It's like, you're going to give him anything else? It seems like a lot of wasted promise.
I am very excited for one, this season's A reveal, but then two, the story after that and the way the characters are used. From what I remember, I think it's like a lot more dynamic. And I'm intrigued to see how things change.
And that's in the season finale is the A reveal.
Pretty sure.
And we have 25 episodes. I keep forgetting about that.
It's like a month out.
Yeah. So okay, never mind. Okay, never mind. We've got some road still for some of this stuff to wrap up. I keep thinking it's 22 episodes. Okay, so
no, you got like 9 more episodes.
Yeah, we got some time. Yeah, I think that's kind of it. We didn't get too many other exciting tidbits and reveals on this. Yeah. Well, we'll maybe have more to chew on next time. Thank you for coming to Theory Corner. Bye-bye.
Great job. I can't tell you who A is.
No. And you're doing a very good job not telling me.
I know. I have a really hard time keeping secrets for those of you who don't know me personally. And I hate it. It's driving me insane. And I have somehow managed to not fuck this up.
You've done a tremendous job.
And when you know, you'll know how good of a job I've done.
Because it's not someone that we don't know.
Huh?
It's someone that we know. A character.
It's like,
it's not just like some random character, so you can't not, you know what I mean? Like you've seen them appear on screen. So then to also keep them.
They have been seen in the show. Right. That is correct. Perceived, if you will.
Right.
That's all I got for you.
Mhm.
All right. Should we do plugs? Or any
Um,
final thoughts?
yeah, just my final thoughts was, Hannah, you gotta stop bottling. You gotta let people in.
Mhm.
Bottling everybody.
She's got a lot going on.
She does. She's had
and
a
her
lot going on.
therapist went missing.
Yeah. So no wonder she's not doing great. But yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
I love it.
Cool. But yeah, ready for plugs.
All right. Well, when we're not here, when I'm not here doing this,
Mhm.
sometimes I do other things. Like I'll post on my blog, I'll post TikToks, I'll like talk about things on the internet. And if you want to see me do those things, you can find all of my details in my link tree, which Brenton will link in all of the things, in all of the descriptions, or whatever is it still a description in the podcast thing too? Cool. Same. It's always in the description. You can find me appropriately on the internet.
And you can also find us on YouTube at Dead Ends, also on all of your podcast platforms of choice at Dead Ends. We are also on Twitter at Dead Ends Podcast if you want to keep up with the new episodes and things like that. You could also send your email questions to deadendspcast@gmail.com. deadendspcast@gmail.com. And other link tree for my stuff also in there on my other YouTube channel. We do Let's Plays at Burger Discourse. Poking through Kingdom Hearts Rechained Memories. Almost there. And that's about it. Oh, subscribe, rate, and review us on podcast platforms of choice. It really helps. We're a small podcast. Get the word out.
Say hi. You can send us highs,
Yeah.
You say hi on Twitter. If there's an earthquake in my area, I might be online checking it because I don't have a personal Twitter account. So,
Go. Yeah. Check it around earthquakes then. But until then, we're still here. We're going to find out everything.
Do you think you're going to figure it out before the last episode?
If that I'm going to guess who AA actually is, like
you're going to have like a
confidence.
Yeah, when you're going to feel like 50% plus good.
Yeah, probably but it's going to be like right before. So the way that our episodes work, it'll be like right before the finale episode. I'm sure I'll have a really good idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I get the benefit of us doing the 24th episode and then the season finale.
No, you don't. Because we
did 1, 2.
We did 15, 16.
Yeah.
So we'll do 17, 18, 19, 20.
21, 22.
21, 22, 23, 24.
Yeah, and then 25 is the finale.
Yeah. So it'll be the next week.
Right. So I have the benefit of having that 24 there to come onto this podcast, make more assertive assertion of what it is, and then the next week come back and get to go ha ha ha.
Got it. I thought you were saying because you do 24 and 25 at the same time, and I was
no.
Well,
yeah. So then we'll see if it all blows up in my face then. So look forward to that.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
We're still here, unfortunately, because we can't stop talking.
All right. Goodbye.